My dear brother, my precious sister in Christ, stop what you're doing right now, because in the next few minutes you're about to hear something most people go their entire lives without ever discovering. A truth hidden in plain sight, a sentence simple, short, almost too simple, yet filled with a power that can shift the direction of your entire life. My friend, this is not entertainment. This is not another motivation video. This is an awakening. What you're about to hear tonight is sacred, because within these words lies a divine key, a key that unlocks not only wealth and abundance, but your God-given authority over your own reality. You see, for too long, the world has lied to you. It has told you that wealth comes only to the clever, the connected, the lucky, that you must work harder, push longer, beg louder, and maybe, just maybe, life will throw you a few crumbs of prosperity. But deep within you, you've always known something wasn't right about that story. You've watched men and women who labor day and night, yet remain trapped in lack. You've seen others who seem to do so little, and yet blessings pour into their hands as if heaven itself opens for them. Why is that? Why does it happen that way? The answer, dear soul, is not out there, not in the world, not in your boss, not in the economy. It was never out there. The answer has always been within you. It's the same truth Neville Goddard spent his entire life teaching, the mystery of imagination, the divine spark of creation living inside every human being. Neville said something that startled his generation. Your own wonderful human imagination is the only God. Now, when you first hear that, you might pause and wonder, could that be true? Could God's creative power actually live inside of me? Could the same breath that spoke galaxies into motion be breathing through my words, through my imagination, through my faith? Yes, 1,000 times, yes. You were created in the image of God, which means you were born with the same creative essence, the power to speak, to imagine, to call things that are not as though they were. And that, my friend, is what you are about to rediscover tonight, because there is a single sentence, a holy arrangement of words that, when spoken with faith, has the power to draw wealth, opportunity, and divine provision directly into your life. But listen carefully. Words without belief are empty. They are shells without a soul. You can repeat affirmations 10,000 times. You can chant phrases until your voice cracks, and nothing will move unless your heart catches fire with the truth behind those words. When the Word of God says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," it wasn't giving you a metaphor. It was describing a law of reality. Everything that exists was spoken into being. Every sunrise, every ocean, every star, all of it was born through the Word, and the same creative power that formed the world has been placed inside you. That is why Neville said, creation is finished. Everything you desire already exists in this divine field of potential. You don't need to chase it. You only need to align with it. You claim it not through effort, not through striving, but through consciousness. Now pause for a moment and let that sink in. Your consciousness, your state of being, is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the factory of miracles. It is the invisible hand that shapes your outer world. But how does consciousness speak? Through the Word. Your entire life has been built from the sentences you've spoken, and even more so the sentences you've believed. Maybe when you were young someone said, "We can't afford that," and though they meant no harm, those words became your invisible cage. You grew up believing scarcity was normal. That lack was your inheritance. Maybe you've said, "I never have enough money," and every time you did, you weren't describing your situation. You were commanding it. Your words were giving instruction to reality itself. You see, this law never stops working. It operates for the rich and the poor alike. The difference is not in the amount of work, but in the awareness behind the word. The rich, whether they know it or not, speak from abundance. They expect increase. They feel worthy of it. The poor, whether they realize it or not, speak from lack. They expect disappointment. They subconsciously rehearse limitation, and life obeys their script. My friend, tonight, that script is about to be rewritten, because when you understand that your imagination clothed in feeling speaks creation into existence, you begin to live as a son, not a beggar, as a co-creator, not a victim. You've prayed, "God, send me more," but heaven has been whispering back all along, "You already have it. Speak it." For the next few moments, I want you to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart, because I'm not giving you a technique. I'm handing you a revelation. There is a sentence so powerful, so alive, that when you speak it with genuine faith, it begins to rearrange your reality in ways you cannot yet see. It's not complicated, it's not long, it's almost too simple, but simplicity is the language of God. Every great movement began with words. Let there be light, peace be still, it is finished. Simple words, yet the entire fabric of existence bowed before them. And so tonight, when you speak your sentence, all of creation will listen because heaven always responds to faith. But before you speak it, you must prepare the soil of your heart. You cannot plant a living seed in the hardened ground of fear. You must soften it with faith, with trust, with the knowing that God's abundance is not something you have to earn. It's something you awaken to. Breathe. Feel the tension about money begin to dissolve. Feel the weight of lack begin to lift. You are stepping into a new state, the state of the one who already has. Because wealth is not out there. It's not something you chase. It's something you embody. And when you step into that state, when you walk as though it is already done, life bends to reflect that truth. So tonight, you are not here by coincidence. You are here because heaven has appointed this moment. The same spirit that moved upon the waters in the beginning is moving upon the waters of your heart right now. And as this message continues, you will see money is not chasing effort. It's chasing identity. It is drawn to the one who has already declared, I am abundant. So let this be your awakening. You are not the one who waits. You are not the one who hopes. You are the one who speaks. Because the moment you speak the living word from the depth of your soul, creation listens. And tonight, you are about to speak the most powerful sentence you'll ever utter, the one that ends waiting and begins becoming, but not yet. First, we must go deeper into the mystery of how words become worlds and how imagination becomes wealth. So stay with me, because in the next chapter you'll see how one simple sentence clothed in faith carries the very vibration of heaven itself. And when you speak it just once, it will not return void. It will accomplish what you send it to do, because you were never meant to live in lack. You were meant to live in overflow. Before you say a single word tonight, pause, because what you're about to understand could change everything. Most people go their entire lives speaking but never realizing what their words are doing. They say, I'm broke, and the universe quietly agrees. They whisper, nothing ever works out for me, and heaven, bound by divine law, simply echoes back, as you say, so shall it be. But those who awaken to the mystery of the creative word never live the same again. You see, the Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs 18:21, not in your job, not in your savings account, not in the hands of others. The power is in your tongue. When you speak, you are not merely communicating, you are creating. Every word you release becomes a vibration, and every vibration summons matter. Every declaration is a seed. And just like a seed, it doesn't look like much at first, but given time, it grows into the very thing you spoke. This is not poetry, this is law. When God said, let there be light, he wasn't suggesting it, he was commanding it. He was not asking creation to respond, he was revealing that creation must respond. And since you were made in his image, the same principle governs your life. You are not a spectator of creation, you are a participant. The word of God was not only spoken to you, it was placed within you. The same breath that moved through the prophets, the same spirit that hovered over the waters now moves through your words, your imagination, your faith. But here's the mystery most people miss. The word only creates when it is felt as truth. You can't fake faith. You can't just say it and hope it works. The creative word requires union, a sacred agreement between your mouth and your heart. Jesus said, when you pray, believe that you have received it, and it shall be yours. Mark 11:24, notice, believe that you have received it, not that you will receive it someday, not that you might, but that you already have. Because the language of heaven is not I will, it is I am. And that, my friend, is where the secret of attraction, manifestation, and divine wealth truly begins. It begins not in the future tense, but in the eternal now. When you say, I am rich, and feel it is true, you become one with the state of wealth itself, and once you become one with it, life has no choice but to mirror that union. Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Why? Because feeling is the secret. Words alone are sound. Feeling gives them life. Think of it this way. Your words are the vessel, but your emotion is the wind that fills its sails. Without the wind, the ship goes nowhere. But once the wind of belief catches it, it begins to move unstoppable toward its destination. So tonight, I want you to begin watching your words as though they are holy, because they are every sentence is a prayer. Every statement is an altar. You say, I'm tired. You say, I can't. You say, it's too hard. And those words, innocent as they sound, become chains. But when you awaken and begin to say, I am strong, I am guided, I am blessed beyond measure, money flows to me with divine ease, suddenly you're no longer describing your world, you're creating it. That's the mystery of the creative word. It does not describe reality, it decides it. And the more you speak from a state of conviction, the faster reality bends to match that conviction. Because everything in your world, your health, your relationships, your finances, is simply the outer echo of your inner conversation. Pause and think about that. What have you been saying to yourself all these years? What sentences have you been repeating without realizing they were programming your future? If your words have created struggle, the good news is you can create again. You can be your life. You can call forth abundance as easily as you once called forth lack, because your creative authority has never left you. It was only forgotten. And tonight it's being reawakened. God did not design you to crawl through life begging for scraps. He created you to reign, to speak, to call forth, to co-create with him. When you declare, I am wealthy, you are not lying, you are aligning, you are speaking from your higher truth, not your temporary circumstance. You're saying, this is who I am in spirit. This is my divine inheritance. And make no mistake, the moment you begin to align your word with your worth, heaven starts to rearrange the pieces around you. Doors open, people appear, opportunities surface. Because the universe doesn't respond to your need, it responds to your state. The poor cry, I need, and their need multiplies. The abundant say, I have, and their having increases. That's not magic, that's creation. That's the same law that made light appear, oceans form, and galaxies spin. And that same law is waiting for your instruction tonight. But there's one more secret. Before your word can create, it must be spoken from silence. Why silence? Because silence is the birthplace of power. When you still your mind, when you quiet the noise of fear, doubt, and comparison, the voice of God rises from within. And from that silence comes a word charged with divine authority. It's no longer just you speaking, it's the God within you commanding reality. And that's why some prayers move mountains while others fall flat. One comes from fear, the other comes from faith. So before you speak your sentence tonight, before you utter that divine phrase, before you listen any further, I want you to stop and truly feel this moment, because right now something invisible is happening. While you sit there, while your heart listens, while your breath slows, you are already tuning. Yes, tuning like a radio receiver, aligning to a divine broadcast that never stopped playing. And that broadcast is called faith. Faith is not a wish. Faith is not hoping something might happen someday. Faith is alignment. It is tuning yourself to the frequency of what already exists and refusing to tune out again. When you understand this, the world begins to look different, because suddenly you realize that everything, every dollar, every opportunity, every miracle is not out there. It's right here vibrating all around you, waiting for you to match its frequency. You can't attract what you don't vibrate with. You can't receive what you secretly doubt. You can't hold what your spirit hasn't yet believed it deserves. That's why Jesus said, according to your faith, be it unto you. Matthew 9:29. He didn't say according to your effort. He didn't say according to your work, your background, or your bank balance. He said faith, because faith is the unseen language that creation understands. Every thought, every emotion, every word you speak sends out a signal. That signal either declares, I am ready to receive, or I am not yet worthy. And the universe, obedient, perfect, precise, simply mirrors it back. Let me tell you something powerful. You are never punished by lack. You are only taught by reflection. If life shows you scarcity, it is not rejecting you. It is simply showing you the vibration you've been unconsciously transmitting. But tonight, that vibration is about to change. Because when your frequency rises to faith, everything begins to find you. Money finds you. Opportunities find you. People who want to bless you appear from nowhere. Doors that were locked suddenly swing open. Faith is not blind. Faith sees what others cannot. The world says, I'll believe it when I see it. Faith says, I'll see it when I believe it. And that, my friend, is how heaven operates. There is a currency far greater than money, and it's called belief. Belief spends in both worlds, the spiritual and the material. When you believe you already have, you are wealthy long before the money arrives. You're prosperous before the world ever knows your name, because true prosperity begins as a state of being, not a number in a bank. You see, the frequency of faith is calm. It's not desperate. It doesn't chase. It attracts. It doesn't say, please let this happen. It says it already has. And the moment you move into that inner knowing, you become magnetic to all that belongs to that vibration. You've heard of the law of attraction. But few understand that attraction begins with identity. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. So if you want abundance, you must become abundance. If you want wealth, you must think, speak, and feel as one who already possesses it. Not from arrogance, but from divine inheritance. You are not a beggar at the gates of heaven. You are a child of God, walking in his likeness, clothed in his authority. And when you remember that, faith ceases to be an effort. It becomes your natural frequency. Now, I want to show you how this works. Practically, spiritually, deeply, every word you speak sends out a wave. And that wave either harmonizes with heaven or cancels it out. When you say, I can't afford this, you tune to the frequency of lack. When you say, I never get lucky, you tune to the frequency of delay. When you say, nothing ever works out for me, the universe hears, continues sending lessons until this one awakens. But when you shift your tone, when you say everything is always working out for me, money flows to me in perfect ways, I am blessed and provided for beyond measure, that's when heaven begins to echo back your song. Because faith is not just believing in God, faith is believing that God believes in you. And he does. He's never stopped. Even when you doubted, even when you failed, even when you looked at your empty account and thought it's over, he was there whispering, child, you are wealthy in ways you cannot yet see. Faith is hearing that whisper and deciding to believe it louder than the noise of fear. You see, fear and faith are frequencies, opposites on the same scale. When you fear, you magnetize delay. When you believe, you magnetize miracles. And here's the secret. You can't fight fear by force. You replace it with faith. You raise your vibration not by pretending, but by feeling the truth. Close your eyes right now just for a moment. Feel what it would be like if you already had everything you desired. Not one day, not someday. Now feel that peace, that quiet confidence, that joy that has no reason. That's the frequency of faith. That's the vibration that heaven recognizes. And when you dwell there, even for a few minutes, something begins to move in the unseen. Because once your vibration changes, reality has no choice but to adjust. Faith is not about forcing outcomes. It's about embodying outcomes. You don't chase the blessing, you become the blessing. You don't reach for the miracle, you rest in it. That's why Jesus could sleep during the storm, because his vibration was peace, and peace carries power. When you find peace in the middle of lack, you become wealth in disguise. When you find gratitude before the blessing, you magnetize the blessing itself. So tonight, I want you to stop asking when will it happen and start declaring it already is. Every cell in your body, every breath in your lungs, every spark in your spirit, all of it responds to the frequency of your belief. You are a living transmitter of divine energy, and when your faith aligns with God's abundance, nothing can remain the same. Heaven is not withholding your miracle, it's waiting for your alignment. The moment you believe you are worthy, wealth begins to appear in divine order. Because faith is not about forcing God's hand, it's about holding his frequency. And once you hold that frequency, even silently, miracles begin to form around you. In the next part of this message, I will reveal how to anchor that faith, how to speak your divine sentence once and never have to repeat it again because it will already be set in motion. But before we get there, breathe. You are tuning right now. Your fear is fading. Your vibration is rising. Heaven is listening. And soon when you speak that one sacred sentence, the entire universe will answer back. It is done. Stop scrolling. Stop searching, because this is the moment everything changes. You've heard about faith. You've heard about vibration. You've felt the truth stirring inside you. But now the time for theory is over. It's time to speak, because no truth becomes real until it's spoken. No power awakens until it's declared, and no miracle begins until the word leaves your lips and enters creation. In this very moment, heaven is leaning close. The air around you is heavy with presence. The veil between what is seen and unseen is thin, and all of heaven is waiting for one sound, your word. My friend, the entire universe was built on one pattern. God spoke, and it was when he said, "Let there be light." He wasn't asking permission, he was commanding creation, and that same creative law now lives inside of you. That's why Jesus said, "The words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." John 6:63. He understood something most people overlook. Words are not just sounds, they are spiritual codes. Every syllable carries vibration. Every declaration carries destiny. You've been given the same gift. You were born to speak and shape reality. And tonight we awaken that gift. Now, before I reveal the sentence, you must understand this. The power is not in the words themselves. The power is in the state from which they are spoken. You cannot speak lack and expect wealth. You cannot speak fear and expect peace. The frequency of your word must match the frequency of heaven. That's why I told you earlier, faith is not hoping, it's tuning. And now that you are tuned, now that your spirit is awake, you are ready. Take a deep breath. Feel that stillness, that quiet awareness that says something greater is here, because it is. Now listen closely. This is the sentence that opens heaven. You don't need to shout it. You don't need to repeat it endlessly. You only need to say it once with absolute belief. Here it is. Everything I desire is already mine. And I thank you, Father, for it now. That's it. Simple, sacred, complete. When spoken with faith, it carries the very vibration of divine creation. You see, every word in that sentence holds meaning. Everything I desire, not some things, not maybe one day, everything. You're acknowledging totality. You're stepping into the completeness of God's provision is already mine. Not will be, not I hope so. You are affirming what heaven already finished because, as Neville said, creation is finished. You're not asking, you're aligning. And I thank you, Father. Gratitude seals the frequency. Gratitude is the proof of possession. You can only thank God for something you already believe you have for it now. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because God's time is always now. When you speak that sentence from the stillness of faith, the universe begins to rearrange itself. Circumstances move. People shift, paths open, because heaven responds to gratitude faster than it responds to prayer. Let me tell you something many never understand. You can pray from lack, or you can thank from abundance. When you pray from lack, you're saying, I don't yet have. When you thank from abundance, you're declaring it's already done, and heaven always agrees with truth. So the next time you feel anxiety about money, close your eyes and whisper, everything I desire is already mine, and I thank you, Father, for it now. Say it once and then rest. Don't beg, don't repeat in fear, just know, because the moment those words leave your mouth in faith, they begin creating ripples in the unseen world. That's how Jesus performed miracles. He didn't repeat, he didn't beg, he simply declared, be healed, peace, be still, Lazarus, come forth. Each command spoken once and creation obeyed. Why? Because he knew, he wasn't hoping, he was knowing, and that's the same knowing that must live in you when you speak your sentence tonight. Maybe you've tried affirmations before and said, they don't work for me. That's because you repeated them from doubt, not from divine certainty. But this time it's different. This time your heart knows. This time your vibration matches heaven's frequency. This time when you say the words, the universe will not hear a desperate wish. It will hear a command backed by divine sonship, because that's what faith is, divine confidence. And when divine confidence speaks, all of creation listens. Now listen carefully. After you speak the sentence, do not rush to see results. The seed must grow unseen before it breaks the surface. You plant it in silence and you water it with gratitude. Every time fear whispers, it's not working, you smile and say, it's already mine. Every time your mind says, I don't see it yet, you whisper back, I already have it. because your seeing is not the proof. Your believing is the world will tell. You don't believe it till you see it. But God says you'll see it because you believed it. So tonight, you become one with your declaration. You don't just say the sentence, you become it. Walk like the one who already has. Think like the one who already holds. Breathe like the one who already received. And life will mirror that identity right back to you. Because faith doesn't chase, it attracts. And your sentence is not just a phrase, it's a spiritual decree. It echoes through dimensions unseen. It carries the authority of creation itself. When you say, everything I desire is already mine, and I thank you, Father, for it now, heaven replies, so be it. So speak it once tonight. Speak it with peace. Speak it with authority. Speak it as one who knows. Then let silence follow, for silence is the proof of trust. And as you rest in that knowing, something begins to move around you. You'll notice coincidences, divine alignments that aren't coincidences at all, money showing up where it shouldn't, opportunities appearing without effort, doors opening you didn't even knock on. That's how heaven works. Quietly, precisely, perfectly, all from one word, one moment of alignment, one declaration made in faith, because faith doesn't beg, faith commands, faith doesn't hope, faith knows, and tonight heaven knows your voice. It's been waiting to hear that sentence from your lips. So when you speak it, smile, because at that very moment the vibration of creation recognizes you. It remembers your tone. It knows your authority. And from that moment on, your world begins to shift in the next and final part. You'll learn how to live in this state, how to walk daily as one who has already received and never fall back into lack again, because this is not just a sentence, it's a new way of being. And once you live in it, abundance will never leave your side. Stop for a moment and listen. Do you hear that quiet in your heart right now? That calm that feels like peace and power at the same time? That's not imagination, that's confirmation. It's the sound of heaven saying, you've remembered who you are. You see, when you spoke that sentence, everything I desire is already mine, and I thank you, Father, for it. Now something shifted, not just in your life, but in the unseen fabric of reality itself. But the secret most people never learn is this. You don't get miracles by visiting faith once. You get them by living in it. The sentence was the key. But now the way you live becomes the door, because words plant the seed, but your daily state waters it. And what good is it to speak the truth once if tomorrow you speak doubt 100 times over? So tonight I'm here to tell you something that will stay with you long after this message ends. If you want to keep what you've created, you must walk like it's already yours. Faith is not a moment, it's a movement. It's not a flash of belief, it's a rhythm of being. Every step you take, every thought you think, every emotion you allow, they're all declarations. You can't just say, I am blessed, and then walk like you're cursed. You can't say, I have abundance, and then live like you're afraid to spend $1. Faith must occupy your bones, not just your mouth, because when your walk matches your word, creation cannot resist you. Remember, heaven is not testing your worthiness, it's echoing your energy. So if you walk in lack, it mirrors lack. But if you walk in gratitude, heaven opens wider with every breath. That's why Paul said, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks. He wasn't telling you to be fake. He was giving you a formula, a way to stay tuned. Gratitude keeps your frequency aligned. And when you live in gratitude, not once, not sometimes, but daily, money stops being something you chase and becomes something that chases you. Because the thankful heart is magnetic. It draws goodness like gravity. That's the true wealth vibration. Gratitude wrapped in peace. Now, I want you to imagine this. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, don't say another day, say another blessing. When you see your wallet, don't see lack, see divine provision. Say quietly, thank you, Father, it's already mine. When you pay a bill, don't feel drained, feel empowered. Say, I bless this flow because more is coming. This is how masters live. They don't wait for proof, they walk as proof, and as they walk, the world bends to meet their belief. Maybe you've spent years thinking, one day when I finally have enough, I'll be grateful. But heaven has been whispering back, no, my child, be grateful now and then you'll have enough, because gratitude is the door that lack cannot enter. When you live in the vibration of gratitude, you rise above scarcity. And when you rise above scarcity, wealth must obey. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. The same God who painted galaxies didn't run out of abundance when he made you. He didn't create shortage, he created supply. But supply only flows where faith is steady. So if your emotions rise and fall with every situation, your signal keeps changing. But when you anchor your heart in peace, when you know that all is already yours, you broadcast consistency, and the universe responds to consistency like a compass finding north. Every blessing you desire begins to track your vibration. Every miracle finds your frequency, because the more you feel like it's done, the faster it becomes visible. That's why Jesus never panicked before a miracle. He didn't rush. He didn't check the time. He didn't look around and say, "What if it doesn't happen?" He simply gave thanks and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me." He thanked before the evidence appeared, because he lived in the knowing, and that's your new reality. You are now living as the one who already has. That means you bless before you receive. You celebrate before you see. You give before you get, because that's how the universe recognizes your faith. Faith says, "I already have it." Fear says, "I hope it comes." Faith celebrates the unseen. Fear doubts the delay. But you, my friend, you are no longer living in fear. You've crossed the line. You've stepped into the realm of knowing. You no longer pray as a beggar. You speak as an heir, because your Father is not a God of barely enough. He's the God of overflow. He's the God who multiplies loaves, who fills empty nets, who turns water into wine. And he hasn't changed the same spirit that raised. Christ from the dead lives in you. So why fear lack? Why doubt supply? You carry divine creation itself in your breath. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask for money. Thank God for the abundance already on its way. Don't say, "Please bless me." Say, "Thank you that I am already blessed." This is the shift that changes everything. You move from waiting for miracles to walking in miracles, from hoping for wealth to living as wealth, from searching for proof to being the proof. That's what living as the one who already has truly means. It's not a trick. It's not a mindset. It's a return to your true identity, because you were never meant to chase. You were meant to create. And when you finally understand that, you stop begging and start becoming. Now close your eyes. Breathe in slowly and say from your heart, "I live as one who already has." Say it again, not with your mouth, with your being. Because when your spirit says it, the entire universe hears it. You'll begin to notice something subtle. The way people treat you changes. The way money flows to you shifts. The way opportunities seem to chase you instead of you chasing them. That's not luck, that's alignment. You finally remembered that you and abundance were never separate. You are not waiting for blessings. Blessings are waiting for you to believe. And now you do. So walk forward with peace. Smile with assurance. Move with gratitude, because your miracle has already begun. And tonight you didn't just hear a sentence. You became one. A living word, a spoken vibration of heaven itself. Everything you desire is already yours. And now, my friend, as you seal this powerful declaration in your spirit, I release this divine acceleration over your finances. May heaven's treasury now open over your life with supernatural speed. May unexpected financial blessings locate you with precision. May every blocked financial channel now burst open with miraculous abundance. Carry this unshakable truth in your heart. The same God who rained manna from heaven now commands financial miracles to manifest suddenly. The same power that multiplied the loaves and fishes now supercharges your resources beyond natural limits. The same faithfulness that provided the coin in the fish's mouth now orchestrates immediate financial breakthroughs. Let this eternal reality become your financial foundation. Your faith has activated heaven's rapid response system. Your obedience has positioned you for sudden wealth transfers. Your spiritual receptivity has made you a magnet for divine provision. Walk forward as heaven's financial miracle, radiating the confidence of one who knows money obeys divine commands. Demonstrate the peace that comes from trusting Jehovah Jireh completely. Embody the authority of a child who knows their father owns everything. Go forth as a living testimony of instant provision, carrying not just the hope of financial breakthrough, but the tangible evidence of God's immediate faithfulness. May your life become a living demonstration that when God's people speak his financial promises with faith, heaven's economy overrides earth's systems. As you seal this powerful declaration in the atmosphere, I release this prophetic word over your financial destiny. May every blocked financial channel now burst open with supernatural force. May every dormant blessing awaken with resurrection power. May every promise of provision now manifest in your life with overwhelming evidence. Carry this eternal assurance with you. The God who fed thousands with a child's lunch now multiplies your resources beyond natural limits. The same power that turned water into wine now transforms your financial desert into streams of abundance. The same faithfulness that guided Abraham to wealth now directs your steps to divine opportunities. Let this holy truth become your financial constitution. You are not begging for provision. You are enforcing a blood-bought inheritance. Your words are not empty sounds. They carry creative power to shape your financial reality. Your faith is not wishful thinking. It's the divine currency that withdraws from heaven's account. Walk forward as a living financial testimony, radiating the confidence of one who knows their supply is guaranteed by covenant. Demonstrate the peace that comes from trusting Jehovah Jireh. Embody the authority of a child who knows their father owns everything. Go forth as heaven's wealth representative, carrying the revelation that your declaration has activated supernatural transfer of resources. May your life become an undeniable demonstration that when God's people speak his financial promises with faith, mountains of debt must move and oceans of lack must part. In the mighty name of Jesus, the one who became poor that we might become rich, I seal this financial breakthrough upon your destiny. May your story become a textbook of divine provision for generations to come. Amen.
You're seeing these signs? It means one powerful truth. You're already walking the path toward wealth. Not the kind of wealth measured only in currency, but the kind of wealth that begins in the mind, where all riches are born. And understand this, every great fortune, every meaningful success, every legacy left behind by a masterful man began first as an unseen seed, buried not in soil, but in the subconscious. If you are seeing these signs, it means that seed is beginning to grow. The first sign that you are on the path to wealth is the growing discomfort with mediocrity. You feel it now more than ever. Where once you tolerated the routines of ordinary life, now they disturb you. What once felt acceptable, clocking in without purpose, spending money without direction, surrounding yourself with distractions, now feels unbearable. This is not frustration. This is awakening. The mind is rejecting what no longer fits your identity. It is casting out the habits, the people, the beliefs that kept you poor, not just financially, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Wealth begins when you start to say, "This is not who I am." That's the first turning point. You're no longer impressed by appearances. You're no longer entertained by small talk. You want strategy. You want substance. You want freedom. Not through luck, but through intention. This hunger is a signal that you've crossed a threshold. You are beginning to walk with the posture of a man who has decided. And once a man decides, the universe moves to meet him. Another sign is your intolerance for wasted time. Time, you now understand, is the currency of the wealthy. The poor spend it. The average trade it for pleasure, but the wealthy invest it. Every second becomes a brick in the construction of your future. You no longer live for the weekend. You live for your vision. You have learned that an hour spent building is worth more than a year spent wishing. And because you've seen this truth, you begin protecting why. Our time like treasure. You say no more often now, not out of arrogance, but alignment. Because every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. You've become allergic to idle conversation, unnecessary scrolling, mindless entertainment. You are no longer available to people who drain your spirit and dull your edge. You understand that energy is sacred and attention is wealth. The man who can control his attention will always control his outcomes. And you have begun to master your attention. That is another sign. Where others are reactive, you are intentional. Where others consume, you create. Where others chase, you attract. Because you are no longer scattered, you are focused. And focus is the hammer that breaks the chains of poverty. When a man is focused, he cannot be manipulated. He cannot be distracted by comparison. He walks with direction. And the man with direction is always wealthier than the man with confusion. Regardless of how much is in his bank account, you have also started thinking long term. And that's another sign. You no longer live in emotional impulse. You have begun to build systems. You have begun to think in years, not days. You don't just chase income. You build infrastructure. You are building assets. Assets of character, assets of skill, assets of value. You have become the kind of man who says, how will this pay me in 5 years? Instead of, how does this make me feel today? And that shift, small as it may seem, is the foundation of empires. You see money differently now. That's a mark of growth. Where once you feared money, now you respect it. You understand that money is a servant, not a master. You understand that money is an amplifier, not a savior. And most importantly, you now see money as the result of value, not just effort. You stopped trading your hours for dollars and started multiplying your value through leverage, through ideas, through systems. That is wealth consciousness. Wealth is not a number. It is a mindset. And your mindset is no longer poor. Poor minds blame, complain, and wait. Wealthy minds create, solve, and act. You stop blaming your background. You stop waiting for permission. You stop looking for signs from the outside. You are now the sign. You are now the one who moves first. You are now the one who says it starts with me. That is power, and power precedes prosperity. Another sign you are walking the path to wealth. You are now obsessed with growth. You are reading more, learning more, asking deeper questions, listening to conversations that stretch you. You are replacing gossip with mentorship. You are replacing complaints with commitments. You are replacing theory with execution. And that execution, even when imperfect, is producing momentum. Momentum is the greatest asset of the man pursuing wealth, not speed, momentum. Because speed fades, but momentum builds. Every disciplined day you stack, every focused hour you complete, every hard choice you follow through with adds weight to your character, and weight creates gravity. People feel it, opportunities feel it, and when the world senses your seriousness, it responds. You are becoming serious now. Not serious in mood, but in mission. You smile more, not because life is easier, but because you are aligned. You no longer panic when things go wrong. You stop making excuses. You don't talk about goals the same way. You walk like someone who expects to win. You carry yourself like a man who has already been there in his mind. You see, every wealthy man I've ever studied had one trait in common. They walked in advance of their results. They didn't wait for success to show up before acting like they were worthy. They moved like the money was already promised. They planned like the vision was already real. And now you do the same. You visualize in the morning. You speak victory over your life. You guard your words because you know words create. Your language is changing. That's a powerful sign. You no longer say, I can't, maybe, or hopefully. You say, and will, I am, and it's done. You've erased doubt from your vocabulary. You've stopped repeating failure stories. You've made your voice a tool for prophecy. You're now narrating your future with precision. And when a man controls his language, he controls his reality. Your circle is changing too. Another sign, you are outgrowing conversations. You are leaving behind comfort-driven communities, not because you're better, but because you're building something bigger. And the bigger your vision, the tighter your circle must be. You understand that proximity is power and poverty is contagious. So, you have begun to place yourself in rooms where excellence is the baseline. You've learned that you don't need to be the smartest man in the room. You just need to be in rooms where smart men are talking. You have become a student of wealth, not just of income, but of principle, of energy, of legacy. You are no longer just looking for how to make money. You're building a philosophy, a system, a code. And that code is carrying you forward. Another sign you are walking the path. Adversity no longer breaks you, it builds you. Where once you folded under pressure, now you grow. You understand that every obstacle is training. You have stopped resenting failure and started learning from it. You don't avoid pain, you alchemize it. You extract the wisdom. You use it as fuel. Because of that, you move through trials with grace. That is the mark of someone being prepared for great wealth. Because wealth requires a strong container, and that container is character. If you are seeing these signs, it means your character is expanding. You are becoming responsible with your word. You are finishing what you start. You are showing up even when the feeling is gone. You are becoming the kind of man who can be trusted with more, and trust always precedes transfer. That's the spiritual law. When you can be trusted, wealth finds you, because wealth is energy, and energy flows to structure. When you build a structure through habits, vision, service, and consistency, the energy of abundance begins to move. Not because you manipulated the system, but because you became the system. You have become the system now. You are no longer guessing. You are executing. You are no longer hoping. You are building. And that, my friend, is the clearest sign of all. You are on the path to wealth. There is a moment in every man's journey when he begins to feel the shift. Not because of what he has, but because of who he is becoming. The shift is quiet. It does not arrive with applause or celebration. It arrives in the form of new standards. It shows up when you begin holding yourself to a higher level, even when no one is watching. It reveals itself when you start doing what most won't, because you know your future demands it. If you're seeing these signs, you're no longer chasing money. You're becoming the kind of man money chases. And let me remind you, the man who is truly wealthy never leads with money. He leads with value. He leads with clarity. He leads with purpose, because he understands that wealth is not pursued, it is attracted. You attract wealth by becoming useful, by becoming reliable, by becoming excellent. Every time you increase your usefulness, your wealth potential multiplies. The world is full of people who want to be rich, but the world is built by people who are useful. Look at your habits now. If you're seeing these signs, it means your habits have begun to align with long-term gain rather than short-term gratification. You no longer eat just for pleasure. You eat for energy. You no longer sleep to escape. You rest to recover. You no longer scroll to pass time. You read to expand. These are not small things. These are indicators that your identity is shifting. And identity is the engine of wealth. When you change how you see yourself, you change what you allow. A poor man justifies bad habits. A rich man builds around discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a privilege. Discipline protects your time. It protects your emotions. It protects your focus. Without it, nothing great can be sustained. With it, everything becomes possible. If your mornings are becoming more structured, your environment more intentional, your calendar more organized, it is no accident. It is the behavior of a man who is preparing for stewardship, not survival. You see, you can't carry wealth if you still think like a man trying to get by. You must begin to think like a man with legacy on his shoulders. The man with legacy doesn't waste time arguing. He doesn't chase cheap validation. He doesn't measure his worth by applause. He is grounded in principle. He understands that real wealth is not just about how much he earns. It's about how much he builds, how much he keeps, and how much he can pass on without the next generation having to start over. Another sign, you're on the path to wealth. Your relationship with work has matured. You've stopped asking for easy. You've stopped looking for shortcuts. You've stopped idolizing passive income without first becoming actively valuable. You understand that leverage only works when value is present. You now view hard work as a sacred process, not something to escape, but something to master. You no longer see your effort as a grind. You see it as a gateway. Because every repetition, every focused task, every hour of deliberate action compounds into competence. And competence is currency. Wealthy men are masters of something. Not everything, but something. They commit, they refine, they simplify. And in that simplicity, they find power. You are no longer distracted by trends. You're not jumping from one idea to the next. You've chosen your vehicle. You've chosen your mission. And now you're digging deep, building depth. Because surface-level effort produces surface-level results, but depth creates dominion. Another sign you're walking the path. You've learned to regulate your emotions. Where you once reacted, now you respond. Where you once panicked, now you pause. Where you once internalized everything, now you investigate. You understand that emotional intelligence is not weakness. It is a weapon. It allows you to move strategically when others are driven by impulse. It allows you to make decisions based on principle, not pressure. And that difference, that internal strength, is what makes you a man who can lead, a man who can build, a man who can multiply. And multiplication is the key, not just of money, but of self. When you begin thinking in terms of multiplying your time, your skill, your vision, your message, your mind has entered the realm of wealth. Because wealthy minds don't just spend, they multiply. Poor minds only consume. They want the next thrill, the next fix, the next dopamine hit. Wealthy minds delay gratification in favor of multiplication. That's why you're studying instead of scrolling. That's why you're building systems instead of escaping stress. That's why you're investing your energy instead of draining it. You're starting to realize that every action you take is either an asset or a liability. Every habit either compounds for you or against you. And because you've seen this truth, you are beginning to make decisions from your future self, not your current feelings. This is the pivot that most never make. The moment when your vision becomes louder than your emotion. When your why outweighs your weakness. When you choose based on outcome, not comfort. That's not just growth. That's preparation for abundance. You are preparing now not just with goals, but with structure. You've begun to track your inputs. You measure your energy. You audit your time. You track your spending. You track your behavior. Not because you are obsessive, but because you are responsible. And responsibility is the foundation of freedom. The man who cannot be responsible cannot be rich, because wealth will always flee a life of disorder. But wealth is drawn to discipline, to stewardship, to intentionality. Another sign you're on the path. Your self-talk has become stronger. You no longer beat yourself up for every mistake. You learn, you recalibrate, you speak life, you declare truth. You understand that you must lead yourself before you can lead anything else, and that leadership begins in the mirror. Every morning you choose the voice you follow, and now you are choosing the voice of power. You are building yourself with language that empowers. That is not weakness, that is mastery. You no longer need hype. You've outgrown motivation without movement. You're no longer impressed by flashy lifestyles with no foundation. You respect consistency. You admire humility. You seek wisdom. You would rather be silent and successful than loud and empty. And that internal shift, that depth of character, is a magnet for lasting wealth. Let's talk about the unseen. If you're seeing these signs, You've likely become more sensitive to energy. You can feel when something is out of alignment. You can detect when a person's spirit doesn't match their words. You can sense when an opportunity isn't right, even if it looks good. That sensitivity is not weakness, it's discernment. It means your intuition is sharpening. And the wealthy man always trusts his gut, not out of emotion, but out of awareness. You are aware now, not paranoid, aware of your choices, of your patterns, of your blind spots. And that awareness gives you the power to adjust before the damage is done. That's what separates the man who keeps what he builds from the man who loses it. It's not intelligence, it's awareness. It's the humility to adapt, to ask better questions, to evolve when others become arrogant. If you are seeing this humility in yourself, you are on sacred ground. Because the path to wealth is sacred. It is not for everyone. It is not for the crowd. It is for the committed. The man who stays when it's hard. The man who decides when OT. Delay. The man who sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That's you now. You don't just want more. You are becoming more. Your life may not reflect it fully yet. You may still be in the early stages. You may still be climbing. But inside, you already know you are different now. Your mind is sharper. Your intentions are purer. Your behavior is bolder. You're no longer the same. And you're never going back. That is wealth. Not just having becoming. And every sign you're seeing now is proof. You are becoming the kind of man who can handle wealth, manage wealth, multiply wealth, and pass on wealth, not just of money, but of mind. And that, my friend, is priceless. If you're still seeing the signs, and more importantly, if you're still living them, then let me tell you something few will say out loud. Wealth is no longer a possibility for you. It's an inevitability. Why? Because you've already become the kind of man wealth was designed to serve. You no longer need to say riches like a beggar hoping for a blessing. You've earned the right to expect prosperity not through entitlement, but through alignment. Your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, and your standards now reflect abundance at the core. Look at the way you now treat your mornings, not as a rush of obligation, but as sacred ground. You rise with purpose, not panic. You prepare, not react. You lead your day instead of waiting to be led by it. And every day that begins in intention is a seed of wealth planted. Compound that intention over months, years, and decades. And no force in the world can stop what's coming to you. Wealth is not for the scattered. It flows to the deliberate. And you, my friend, have become a man of deliberate purpose. Even your goals have changed. Where once you chased status, now you pursue significance. Where once you wanted money to feel powerful, now you know power is the ability to be in control of yourself. You've discovered that real freedom isn't about being more. It's about needing less. And from that posture, you've stepped into mastery. Because the man who needs nothing is the most dangerous man alive. He cannot be manipulated. He cannot be distracted. He cannot be bought. And because of that, wealth is now drawn to him naturally. You've learned that the wealthiest people are not the ones who hoard, but the ones who create. You've stepped into the mindset of value creation. You don't ask, what can I get? You ask, what can I give that multiplies? This is what separates the wealthy from the hopeful. Hopeful people wish. Wealthy people serve. They understand that money follows value, and value flows from a refined mind and a sharpened skill set. You are sharpening now. Every day you think deeper. Every day you solve faster. Every day you speak with more clarity. That is the evidence of a man preparing for magnitude. Let's not forget the internal shift that precedes every financial breakthrough. Identity. If your identity has changed, your reality has already begun to change. You no longer say, "Sign, I'm trying." You say, "I'm becoming." You don't say, "But maybe one day." You say, "And it's already done. I'm catching up to it." You walk like it's done. You work like it's done. You plan like it's done. And that inner shift is what the world responds to. Energy doesn't lie. When your mind is made up, reality bends to match. Even in silence, you are building. You no longer need constant feedback to know you're on track. You've developed the habit of showing up even when no one notices. You've divorced yourself from the need for approval. You've become your own accountability. And that self-respect, that integrity, that's what wealthy men are made of. Wealth without character is short-lived, but wealth built on identity, intention, and internal power, that kind of wealth outlasts generations. Let me tell you this, it is no longer a matter of if, it is a matter of when. The man you're becoming is inevitable, because you no longer make decisions from your current limitations. You make them from your future self. You don't ask, "What can I afford?" You ask, "What does the man I'm becoming choose?" You've stopped budgeting for your fears. You've started investing in your faith. You've made every dollar a soldier, every task a message, every conversation an opportunity. And because of that, wealth has no choice but to enter. You now speak in full sentences. You communicate with conviction. You own your time. You protect your energy. You move with rhythm, not rush. You think ahead. You ask questions. You no longer wait for life to assign you value. You assign it to yourself. And when a man knows his value, the world responds in kind. You don't beg for worth. You walk in it. You've made peace with solitude. Where once you feared being alone, now you cherish it. Because solitude has become your workshop, your training ground, your vision board, your altar of refinement. The man who can sit in silence and build in the dark is he man who can handle abundance in the light. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. But you faced yourself and you didn't flinch. You grew. And that growth is priceless. You've stopped outsourcing your discipline. You've stopped making others responsible for your habits. You no longer need a reminder to do what you said you do. You honor your word even in private. And when your private behavior aligns with your public declaration, that is wealth. Because true wealth is congruence. No split personality, no double standard, one mind, one mission, one man. You've developed vision. Not the kind sold on posters, but the kind written into your spirit. You see your future before it's visible. You speak life into dry places. You build when there's no audience. You plant seeds when others are complaining about the weather. And because of that, you will reap what others only dream about. Not by luck, not by inheritance, but by law. The law of cause and effect. The law of belief. The law of responsibility. The law of mental clarity. If you are truly walking this path, there is one more sign that cannot be ignored. You've become impossible to unseat. You are no longer shaken by delay. You are no longer discouraged by rejection. You are no longer broken by setbacks. Why? Because you've trained your mind to interpret all pain as preparation. You've mastered the ability to extract profit from adversity. You are an alchemist now. You turn resistance into results, loss into leverage, delay into direction. You've made excellence your default, not something you do when you feel like it, but who you are, even when no one's looking. You've made integrity your compass. You've made purpose your currency. You no longer talk about goals. You talk about systems because systems produce. Goals inspire, but systems build. And you, my friend, are building every single day. You're no longer chasing big wins. You're stacking small ones because you know now the compound And the effect of daily discipline will beat every flash in the pan success story. You're not building for next week. You're building for your legacy. You're not here to impress. You're here to last. And that mindset, that long game posture, is what makes wealth inevitable. So, I'll say it again. If you're seeing these signs, you're not on the wrong track. You're not late. You're not lost. You're being forged. And everything you're becoming now, the habits, the posture, the clarity, the confidence, these are not accidents. These are confirmations. Confirmations that you're walking in alignment with the man you were always meant to become. That man is already inside of you. He's the one who rises early, who studies instead of complains, who executes instead of hesitates, who speaks truth, lives truth, builds truth. He doesn't just wear success, he embodies it. And every day that man is growing stronger, sharper, bolder, freer. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't owe anyone proof. You owe yourself follow rough. You owe yourself consistency. You owe your future family the version of you who didn't give up when it got hard. You owe your calling a man who answered it without excuse. So stand tall, walk firm, keep building. The world may not notice today, but wealth has already taken notice because the man you are now, disciplined, aligned, clear, and becoming, is the very man wealth was searching for all along. And because wealth has recognized you, it is no longer something you chase. It's something that finds you. It finds you in the way you carry yourself, in the way you honor your word, in the way you refuse to let excuses govern your destiny. It finds you in your daily rhythm, in your consistency, in your quiet devotion to a vision most cannot yet see. It finds you because wealth is attracted to order, to discipline, to clarity, to alignment. And you, in your transformation, have become all of these things. You no longer ask for opportunities with desperation. You create them with intention. You no longer see closed doors as rejection. You see them as redirection toward better paths prepared for you. This shift, this inner revolution, has turned you into a magnet. Not a magnet for chance, but a magnet for what you've become. Every choice you make now vibrates with power. When you wake up, you wake with awareness. When you walk into a room, you walk with purpose. When you speak, your words carry authority, not because of the volume of your voice, but because of the depth of your alignment. People listen to you differently now. They sense something in you they cannot easily name, but they recognize it because it is rare. It is the rare combination of humility and power, discipline and vision, patience and urgency. It is the rare essence of someone who has built from within, someone who has done the work in silence, someone who has faced their own demons and refused to bow. And because of this, you are no longer competing with others. You have stepped into a realm where your only competition is the man you were yesterday. That is why you grow. That is why you rise. That is why you refuse to let mediocrity poison your spirit. You measure progress not by applause but by alignment. Not by trophies but by transformation. Not by possessions but by peace. This is why wealth can no longer evade you. Wealth does not chase noise, it chases substance. And substance has become your identity. You no longer pray for easy seasons because you understand now that storms are teachers. You welcome resistance because resistance sharpens your strength. You embrace pressure because pressure reveals what you are made of. You do not crumble under trials. You extract wisdom from them. Where others complain about the weight, you train under it. Where others curse the process, you refine yourself in it. That is why you shine differently now. That is why your growth is inevitable. The man you are becoming has learned the sacred art of consistency. He knows that greatness is not built in bursts, but in bricks. One brick every day, one action, one discipline, one habit stacked upon another, until the structure of legacy stands tall. Others may rush for shortcuts, but you have committed to the long road. And the long road, though harder, is always the road of permanence. Temporary effort brings temporary results, but sustained effort brings eternal fruit. You have chosen the eternal. And now, because you have chosen wisely, the universe begins to rearrange itself around you. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because your mind became stronger. Not because circumstances shifted overnight, but because you shifted first. You redefined failure as feedback, delay as development, obstacles as opportunities. And once your interpretation changed, your experience transformed. You became unshakable, not by avoiding storms, but by mastering how to walk through them. This is why solitude no longer scares you. You no longer seek noise to drown out the sound of your own thoughts. You no longer crave constant validation to feel alive. You have built a friendship with silence, and in that silence, you have found clarity. You have built a sanctuary within your own soul, and in that sanctuary, you have found vision. And vision is what separates the common from the extraordinary. Vision is what compels you to build when others rest, to invest when others spend, to endure when others quit. Vision has made you a man of destiny. And destiny, once discovered, cannot be denied. It pulls you forward. It orders your steps. It sets fire to your discipline and strengthens your resolve. You may stumble, but you do not stay down. You may fall, but you rise faster each time. Because now you are not driven by circumstance, you are driven by conviction. Conviction that your future self is worth every sacrifice. Conviction that your calling is worth every battle. Conviction that your legacy is worth every ounce of perseverance. That is why distractions no longer seduce you. You recognize them for what they are, thieves of destiny. You protect your time like treasure because it is treasure. You protect your mind like sacred ground because it is sacred. You protect your energy like currency because it is currency. And because of that, your life has become intentional. Nothing wasted, nothing squandered, everything accounted for, everything aligned, and in that alignment, prosperity flows. Your wealth is not only financial, it is mental, emotional, spiritual. You are wealthy in clarity, wealthy in discipline, wealthy in peace, wealthy in vision. And because internal wealth always precedes external wealth, the financial will inevitably follow. Money is drawn to stewardship, and you have become a steward. Not a reckless spender, not a fearful hoarder, but a wise manager. You know that every dollar has a purpose, every seed has a season, every investment has a harvest. You move differently now, not chasing fleeting easers, but planting lasting seeds. And the beauty of this new posture is that you no longer force results. You no longer grasp at outcomes. You understand now that what is yours cannot be stolen, and what is not yours cannot be forced. You release what does not align. You embrace what is assigned. You trust timing, not with passivity, but with faith. You no longer measure yourself against the pace of others, because you know your lane, your rhythm, your mission. You are not late, you are precise. You are not behind, you are being prepared. So when doors close, you do not panic. You understand that not every opportunity is yours. When people leave, you do not crumble. You understand that not everyone can walk with you where you are going. When plans shift, you do not lose hope. You understand that the path to destiny is rarely straight. Instead of fighting reality, you flow with it. Instead of resisting change, you adapt. And adaptation, combined with discipline, is the mark of the true. Why unstoppable? Now, when challenges arise, you ask different questions. You no longer ask, why me? You ask, what is this teaching me? You no longer ask, when will this end? You ask, how will this prepare me? That shift alone is the seed of greatness. Because men who complain stay stuck, but men who learn keep rising. And you have chosen to rise, no matter the weight, no matter the season, no matter the storm. And because of that, life cannot defeat you. Setbacks cannot break you. Loss cannot erase you. Rejection cannot diminish you. You have trained your spirit to remain steady when others collapse. You have trained your mind to remain focused when others scatter. You have trained your body to obey when others quit. You have trained your heart to love when others grow bitter. This training has made you unshakable. Unshakable men are rare, but they are the ones history remembers. They are the ones who build legacies that outlive their names. They are the ones who lead when others hide, who create when others consume, who persist when others retreat. You are becoming that man. Every day, with every choice, you are chiseling away at the lesser version of yourself and sculpting the greater. Every morning you rise as a craftsman of destiny, a builder of character, a soldier of vision. And this labor, though unseen by many, is recognized by the one audience that matters, your future self. That future self is watching you now, urging you not to quit, reminding you that the pain of discipline is always lighter than the pain of regret. He is urging you to keep moving, to keep building, to keep believing, because every act of faith is a deposit in his account. And one day, sooner than you think, he will stand in the abundance you are laboring for now, and he will thank you. He will thank you for not giving up when it was lonely, for not folding when it was heavy, for not doubting when it was dark. He will thank you for your consistency, your courage, your clarity. And when that day comes, you will understand that every late night, every early morning, every sacrifice, every tear, every rejection, every lesson, every moment of solitude was worth it. You will understand that wealth was never just about money. It was about becoming the man who could handle it. You will understand that success was never about applause. It was about alignment. You will understand that greatness was never about what you had. It was about who you became. So you continue. You continue building when no one claps. You continue sowing when no one notices. You continue rising when no one believes, because you know that hidden seasons are holy seasons. You know that silence is where strength is forged. You know that obscurity is not punishment but preparation. And you know without doubt that the man you are becoming cannot be denied. Because once you have chosen alignment, once you have embraced discipline, once you have honored vision, nothing can stop the inevitable. LTH will come, influence will come, impact will come. But more than all of that, what if I told you that the financial breakthrough you've been praying for is not sitting in the bank, not locked behind a promotion, and not waiting in some lottery ticket, but hidden in a single psalm of scripture? What if I told you that this one psalm has the power to magnetize money into your hands, dissolve financial struggles, and open doors you thought were permanently closed? And what if I told you that this blessing isn't somewhere out in the distant future, but it's hovering over you right now, waiting for your faith to activate it? In just a few moments, I'm going to share with you the exact psalm that shifts your financial destiny. And I promise you, by the time we reach the last point of this message, your entire perspective on wealth, faith, and divine supply will be transformed forever. So don't miss a second watch until the very end, because that final revelation might just change your life. If this message has touched your heart today, I encourage you, do not keep it to yourself. Share your testimony in the comments below, so others may be blessed by your faith. And if you have not yet, I urge you, subscribe to this channel. so together we may continue to grow in the Word of God and in the power of the Holy Spirit. When you like this video, you are spreading the gospel further, bringing hope and healing to many lives. The spoken word creates reality. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Long before you and I took our first breath, long before coins were minted, long before paper carried the face of kings, there was sound, there was vibration. There was the Word moving through the invisible shaping form, commanding order, bringing light into the void. The ancient text tells us that God spoke and worlds were framed. He said, "Let there be light," and there was light. The universe did not resist. Creation did not argue. The darkness did not debate. The word was spoken and manifestation bowed to it. From this eternal truth flows the principle. What is spoken in faith becomes the architecture of one's destiny. When you speak tonight, you are not just reading a psalm as though it were ink on paper or sound on your lips. You are calling forth unseen forces to arrange themselves in harmony with your decree. Your words are seeds cast into the soil of the subconscious, and the subconscious does not argue. It does not resist. It does not analyze. It accepts. And the moment you speak the word, the soil of your inner being begins to germinate, to move, to bring forth after its kind. If you speak poverty, the soil brings forth lack. If you speak fear, the soil brings forth limitation. But when you speak the word of God, when you declare His psalm in faith, the soil must bring forth abundance, because divine law is irrevocable. Consider the breath that leaves your lips as sacred currency. Each word is not wasted air, but a coin cast into the treasury of heaven. When you murmur complaint, you spend your wealth on ashes. When you repeat worry, you invest in loss. But when you declare the psalm of abundance, when you proclaim, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you are making a deposit into the bank of eternity, and interest begins to accumulate. The word carries its own power. You do not have to strive. You do not have to wrestle. You only have to speak and believe. The word performs its own work, just as a seed performs its own miracle in the soil. It is not ritual. It is not superstition. It is law. Just as gravity pulls the apple to the ground, just as the tide obeys the moon, so too does the word bring forth its own harvest. When you read the psalm tonight, you align your voice with the vibration of heaven, and heaven cannot deny itself. Divine truth rushes to fulfill the sound that mirrors its nature, and wealth, which has always been present in the unseen, begins to take shape in the seen. Money that once seemed elusive begins to flow. Opportunities that once felt hidden begin to reveal themselves. Doors that once were locked begin to open, not because you pushed, but because you spoke. You see, creation responds not to your striving, but to your sound. You can work and toil, sweat and worry, exhaust yourself with effort, yet see little fruit. But when your word aligns with divine law, the fruit begins to multiply of its own accord. It is like the farmer who SWS in silence, and overnight the earth brings forth blades, stalks, and grain. The farmer does not understand how, but he trusts the law of seed time and harvest. So it is with the spoken word. You need not understand the mechanics of how money will come or through whom it will arrive. You need only release the word, and divine law carries it on wings unseen, arranging circumstances, stirring hearts, opening streams until wealth finds its way to you. The word you speak tonight is not ordinary. It is charged with divine authority. When you declare the psalm, you are not simply echoing ancient poetry. You are echoing the creative voice of God Himself. That same voice that commanded stars into being now flows through your tongue, clothed in your sound, carried on your breath. You become a co-creator with the infinite, shaping the landscape of your tomorrow. Heaven hears, earth responds, and wealth obeys. Have you not noticed how words spoken in anger can wound the soul for years? How words of encouragement can lift a weary heart in moments. If mortal words have such power to alter emotions, how much greater is the power of divine words spoken in faith? They are not mere vibrations in the air. They are living forces sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through doubt, piercing through lack, separating you from the lie of limitation, and binding you to the truth of abundance. When you read the psalm tonight, imagine your words as arrows of light, piercing the darkness of financial fear, cutting through the fog of uncertainty, striking the very heart of lack until it dissolves with every verse. See chains of debt falling from your hands with every declaration. See rivers of provision flowing toward you. For the word does not return void. It accomplishes that which it is sent to do. When you speak, you are sending it forth like a messenger on assignment, and it cannot fail to deliver wealth into your experience. The subconscious mind is like fertile earth, and at night it is most open, most receptive, most impressionable. That is why the word spoken before sleep carries extraordinary power. As your body rests, your spirit labors, and the word you have sown continues to germinate in silence. Angels move on your behalf. Divine law operates while you slumber. The psalm becomes a vibration in your very being, harmonizing your spirit with prosperity, dissolving old patterns of lack, planting new patterns of wealth. And when the dawn breaks, you awaken not only with refreshed strength, but with a field of opportunities, already ripened, waiting for your harvest. Do not underestimate the power of repetition. Each night you speak the word, you reinforce the pattern of abundance. Each declaration engraves prosperity deeper into the fabric of your soul. And just as a sculptor chisels stone little by little until the masterpiece is revealed, so too does your spoken word chisel away the rough edges of doubt until the masterpiece of wealth stands before you. The psalm becomes not just something you read, but something you embody, something you breathe, something you live. The moment you open your mouth in faith, invisible currents begin to shift. What was once withheld is released. What was once blocked is opened. What was once distant is drawn near. For sound is not bound by walls, nor hindered by time, nor silenced by distance. Your word travels through realms seen and unseen, touching hearts, opening doors, commanding wealth to appear. And wealth must obey, for it is a servant of divine law. It does not resist those who align with the word. It comes willingly, eagerly, abundantly. So tonight, as you lift your voice and declare the psalm, remember, you are not reciting. You are creating. You are not hoping. You are commanding. You are not pleading. You are aligning. The word that leaves your lips tonight will not die in the air. It will live, it will move, it will manifest. It will call wealth out of the invisible and usher it into your visible life. For the spoken word creates reality. Money as divine energy. Money is often mistaken for coins, paper, or digits on a screen. People chase it, fear it, hoard it, or resent it. But few pause long enough to understand what money truly is. Money in its essence is not material. It is spiritual substance, divine energy clothed in form. It is a symbol, a representation of circulation, a visible manifestation of an invisible current, just as electricity flows through wires and lights a lamp. Money flows through channels and illuminates a life. It is not the source itself, but the evidence of the source. To reduce money to numbers in a bank account is to misunderstand its nature. To see it as divine energy is to reclaim the power that so many have surrendered to fear and lack. All things visible are born from the invisible. Before a coin is minted, the energy of wealth exists. Before a paycheck is signed, the supply already is. Money is not created in the mind of man. It is revealed through the divine substance of the universe. That is why the psalm, when spoken, does not bring wealth from nothing. it awakens you to the wealth that has always been. You may not see it with natural eyes, but it is as real as the air you breathe. The psalm aligns you with that energy, clearing away the mental blocks that keep you blind to supply, opening the door for money to flow into your experience in visible ways. This divine energy is not limited by geography, time, or circumstance. It does not matter whether you live in a village or a city, whether the economy is booming or declining, whether opportunities seem plenty or few. Money as divine energy responds not to the conditions outside of you, but to the vibration within you. When your inner state is aligned with abundance, money must come. When your inner state is filled with fear, money slips away. The psalm spoken with faith raises your vibration to match the frequency of wealth. It harmonizes your inner energy with the divine current of prosperity. And in that harmony, money begins to appear, often through channels you never expected. Think of water flowing down a mountain. It moves naturally, effortlessly, without hesitation. It does not stop to ask permission, nor does it worry about scarcity. It finds its way around rocks, slips through cracks, carves valleys, and eventually reaches the ocean. Money, as divine energy, moves in the same way. It is circulation. It is designed to flow. When you resist it with fear, doubt, or unworthiness, it pulls up and stagnates. When you open to it with faith, gratitude, and expectancy, it rushes toward you, seeking you out, eager to fulfill its purpose. The psalm, when spoken at night, loosens the stones of resistance and clears the channels, allowing money to flow freely once more. There is a reason why worry and struggle never produce lasting wealth. When you chase money as though it were a thing outside of you, you operate in separation. You see money as distant, elusive, perhaps even hostile. But when you understand that money is divine energy, already present within the fabric of your life, you shift from chasing to attracting. You no longer strive to possess. You allow yourself to receive. The psalm becomes not a plea, but a declaration of alignment. It reminds you that you are part of divine circulation that supplies your birthright, and that energy clothed in the form of money is eager to reach you. Money is energy, but it also carries vibration. It responds to the vibration with which it is handled. When money is feared, it shrinks. When it is hoarded in anxiety, it loses circulation. When it is cursed, it resists. But when money is blessed, honored, and recognized as divine, it multiplies. The psalm shifts your relationship with money. Instead of seeing it as scarce, you begin to see it as abundant. Instead of fearing its absence, you begin to trust its presence. Instead of clutching at it with desperation, you begin to handle it with gratitude. This shift in vibration transforms money from a burden into a servant, from a worry into a blessing, from a chain into a key. There are those who have worked tirelessly, yet remain poor, and others who have spoken little but live in abundance. The difference lies not in effort, but in alignment. To see money as mere matter is to limit it to human effort. To see money as divine energy is to tap into a limitless source. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only change form. So too with money. Even when it leaves your hand, it is not gone. It circulates, it returns, it multiplies. The psalm spoken at night plants this truth into your consciousness, replacing the fear of loss with the assurance of circulation. You no longer cling, for you know the flow will return. You no longer despair, for you know divine energy cannot run out. You no longer envy, for you know the same source that supplies others supplies you abundantly. Imagine money as light. It shines through different lamps, but the electricity behind it is the same. Whether it arrives as a paycheck, a gift, a business idea, or an unexpected opportunity, it is all the same divine energy clothed in different garments. When you declare the psalm, you are not dictating how the money should come. You are opening yourself to the infinite ways it can appear. You release the need to control the channel and instead trust the source. This trust removes the strain of striving and replaces it with a piece of expectancy. And in that expectancy, money begins to flow. For it is drawn to faith as surely as metal is drawn to a magnet. Too long has money been treated as a master, feared as an oppressor, or desired as an idol. In truth, money is none of these. It is a servant, a symbol, a vessel of divine energy. When you place it in its rightful position, you free yourself from bondage to it. You no longer fear losing it because you know energy cannot be lost. You no longer idolize it because you know it is not the source but the channel. You no longer resent it because you know it is designed to bless, not to curse. The psalm restores this rightful perspective. Each verse reorients your heart, dissolves old lies, and awakens you to the truth. Money is divine energy, and as such, it flows to you naturally, abundantly, without resistance. And just as the body thrives when circulation is strong, so too does life thrive when money circulates freely. To block it with fear is to cut off the blood flow of prosperity. To release it with faith is to open the veins of abundance. The psalm spoken in the stillness of night is a divine prescription, a medicine for the soul, a prayer that heals the flow of wealth in your life. It quiets the anxious mind, calms the fearful heart, and aligns you once more with the truth of divine circulation. And as you rest, that circulation begins to manifest, weaving opportunities, drawing connections, preparing blessings until money clothed in form makes its way into your life as naturally as tide returns to the shore. The psalm as a key of release. There are hidden codes woven into the sacred text, words that carry vibrations not of man's invention but of divine origin. A psalm is not just poetry or history, it is a spiritual formula, a key designed to unlock doors that seem sealed. Within every line is energy, and within every word is a seed of transformation. When you read a psalm with faith, especially at night, when the conscious mind quiets and the subconscious is most receptive, you are not simply reciting verses. You are turning the key in a lock that has long kept your wealth, peace, and abundance behind closed doors. The psalm is the key of release, the spiritual instrument by which you open what was shut, dissolve what was bound, and free what has always belonged to you. Many live in cages of lack, and though the bars are invisible, they are real. These cages are built not of steel, but of fear, doubt, unworthiness, and limitation. A man may work all his life and yet feel as though he is pushing against unseen walls, never able to break through to the freedom he longs for. The truth is, no amount of striving can break those bars, for they are not physical, they are spiritual in nature, and only a spiritual key can release them. That key is the Word, and the Psalms are among the purest expressions of that Word. Each verse holds within it the vibration of divine law. And when spoken in faith, the very sound begins to dismantle the prison of lack, loosening the chains and opening the door to prosperity. When you read a psalm, you align yourself with eternal truth. And truth, by its very nature, sets free. Freedom is not something you create. It is something you uncover. Abundance is not something you invent. It is something you release. The psalm does not put wealth into your life. It releases wealth from the realm of spirit into the realm of matter. Imagine a river dammed up, its waters pressing, waiting, longing to flow. The psalm is the key that lifts the gate, and instantly the waters rush forth, unstoppable, abundant, generous. Wealth has always been pressing at the edges of your life, but doubt, fear, and unconscious patterns have held the gate shut. The psalm spoken with faith releases the gate, and what was dammed up begins to flow towards you with power and force. There is a reason why so many find peace in the Psalms, even in times of despair. It is not merely comfort, it is release. The words carry frequencies that untangle the knots of fear and open space for divine circulation. When you declare, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," you are not merely affirming that God will provide. You are turning the key of release, canceling the lie of lack, unlocking the storehouse of divine supply. You are releasing wealth, releasing peace, releasing opportunity. The psalm is more than prayer, it is activation. Think of a locked chest filled with treasure, sealed for years. People may walk by it, admire it, even rest upon it. But without the key, the treasure remains untouchable. So it is with wealth. It's all around you, pressed into the invisible, waiting for release. The psalm is that key. With every line you read, with every declaration of faith, you turn the lock a little further until the chest bursts open and treasures hidden in darkness flood into your experience. You do not create the treasure, you release it. You do not manufacture the supply, you reveal it. The psalm acts as a bridge between the unseen and the seen, between the eternal storehouse and your daily life. At night, when silence drapes the world and your mind drifts toward rest, the psalm has unique power. For in that hour, the chatter of the mind grows still, the defenses of logic weaken, and the gates of the subconscious stand open. It is then that the psalm, spoken aloud or whispered with intention, enters deep, embedding itself into the fertile soil of your inner being. There it works unseen, undoing the locks of fear, dissolving the knots of resistance, and releasing currents of wealth that will manifest in the days to come. The night prayer is not lost in silence. It is amplified in the unseen, sent forth as a key to release what belongs to you. Every psalm carries a specific vibration. Some soothe, some protect, some heal, and some release abundance. When spoken, their vibration echoes into the spirit realm, where laws higher than human reasoning govern. These laws recognize the sound of truth and respond instantly. Just as a locked door yields to the right key, so does the realm of prosperity yield to the vibration of the sun. And what once seemed impossible, what once seemed out of reach, suddenly opens with ease because the correct key has been used. Consider this. The locks on your life were not placed there by God. The locks of lack, fear, and limitation are forged by false belief, hardened by worry, and secured by repetition of negative thought. But divine law has always provided the key. It was never God's intention for you to remain outside the storehouse of abundance. The Psalms are His keys placed in your hands, waiting only for your faith to turn them. The moment you speak them with belief, the locks must yield. For no lie can withstand the vibration of divine truth. Release is not dramatic. It is not always loud or sudden. Sometimes it is as subtle as a shift within, a quiet knowing, a gentle opening. And yet from that subtle shift, entire worlds of abundance can be released. You may wake the next morning to a new idea, a chance encounter, an unexpected gift, a door opening where once there was only a wall. These are not coincidences. They are the evidence of release. The psalm has done its work. The key has turned, and the treasure has begun to flow. The psalm also releases you from inner bondage. For what good is wealth if the soul remains enslaved to fear? The verses untangle the inner cords of anxiety, releasing peace, releasing joy, releasing courage. And as inner release comes, outer release follows. Money is no longer seen as a struggle or a master, but as a servant, a current, a tool of divine energy flowing freely into your hands. You no longer cling or chase. You allow. You no longer strive to force doors open. You speak the psalm and watch as they swing wide of their own accord. And so the psalm becomes both key and evidence of release. It is the action that turns the lock, and it is the peace that follows once the gate is open. Each verse spoken in faith is a step closer to freedom. Each declaration a twist of the key. Each word a loosening of the bolt until finally the door stands open. The prison dissolves, the treasure flows, and what was always yours is revealed at last. Faith cancels fear. Fear and faith cannot dwell in the same house. One expels the other. Where fear rules, faith is silent. And where faith rises, fear dissolves. They are two masters competing for the throne of your heart. And whichever you choose to serve will shape your experience of life. Fear binds, paralyzes, and contracts. Faith liberates, moves, and expands. Fear shuts doors and blinds eyes, while faith opens gates and clears paths. Fear whispers of scarcity, but faith sings of abundance. When you take the psalm upon your lips at night, you are not merely speaking words. You are choosing faith over fear, light over shadow, truth over illusion. Fear is a deceiver. It magnifies the illusion of lack, paints shadows larger than life, and convinces the mind that tomorrow is uncertain and unsafe. Fear speaks loudly of bills, debts, and closed doors, but offers no solution. It drains strength, steals peace, and tightens the grip of poverty. It whispers that you are unworthy, that abundance is for others but not for you. Fear chains the imagination to failure, binds the will to despair, and blinds the heart to opportunity. In this way, fear becomes a jailer, keeping men and women locked away from the wealth that is already theirs. But faith is a liberator. It unlocks vision, lifts the imagination, and fills the heart with courage. Faith does not deny circumstances. It transcends them. It looks at the empty purse and declares, "My supply is infinite." It sees the closed door and proclaims, "Another door shall open." It hears the whisper of lack and responds with the shout of abundance. Faith calls things that are not as though they are, and by its very nature calls them into being. Where fear binds, faith releases. Where fear contracts, faith expands. Where fear suffocates, faith breathes life. The psalm spoken at night is a declaration of faith. Each verse is a sword cutting through the fog of fear. Each line is a shield against the arrows of doubt. When you read the psalm, you are not pleading with the heavens. You are commanding your soul to believe. You are affirming the truth that cancels the lie of fear. You are reprogramming the inner mind, silencing the voice of lack and awakening the vibration of abundance. Fear may try to linger, but faith spoken consistently dissolves it like light dissolves darkness. Darkness does not fight against light. It simply vanishes. So too does fear vanish in the presence of faith-filled words. Night is the hour when fear often tries to rise. In the silence when the world grows still, the mind sometimes grows loud with worry. The bills echo in thought, the uncertainties magnify, and the imagination runs wild with pictures of loss. This is why the psalm at night is so powerful. It interrupts the voice of fear and replaces it with the vibration of truth. Instead of fear filling the subconscious as you drift into sleep, faith fills it. Instead of nightmares of lack, visions of abundance take root. And as you rest, faith continues to work, dissolving fear at its roots and planting seeds of prosperity deep in the soil of your being. Fear is always rooted in separation. It tells you that you are cut off from supply, that you are alone in your struggle, that the universe is against you. Faith restores the truth of connection. It reminds you that you are one with divine supply, that heaven is your source, that you are never abandoned. Fear looks at the bank account and sees emptiness. Faith looks at the infinite source and sees fullness. Fear clings tightly to what little it has, afraid to release. Faith knows that to release is to circulate, and to circulate is to multiply. Fear builds walls, but faith builds bridges. It is impossible to step into wealth while clinging to fear, for fear is contraction, and contraction cuts off circulation. Just as a clenched fist cannot receive, a fearful heart cannot attract. Faith, on the other hand, is open-handed, receptive, expansive. It creates space for money to flow in, for opportunities to appear, for blessings to manifest. Faith says, I expect good, and good rushes to meet it. Fear says, I expect loss, and loss comes running. The psalm retrains the tongue and the mind to expect good. Each verse is an expectation spoken aloud, a refusal to bow to fear, a declaration that abundance is the only truth. The difference between a fearful prayer and a faith-filled declaration is profound. A fearful prayer begs and pleads, rooted in the belief that God may not hear or may not provide. A faith-filled declaration, like the psalm, knows that provision is already given, that supply is already present, that wealth is already here. It does not plead, it affirms. It does not doubt, it proclaims. And in that proclamation, fear is silenced and abundance is released. Look at the way fear shrinks the world of those who serve it. A person afraid to spend becomes imprisoned by their own money. A person afraid to invest never grows. A person afraid to dream remains bound to the smallness of their present life. Fear shrinks possibilities until only survival remains, but faith expands possibilities. It dares to spend with gratitude, knowing that more shall return. It dares to invest, trusting that divine circulation multiplies. It dares to dream, believing that the unseen can become the seen. The psalm is the language of daring faith, the sound of expansion, the vibration of increase. When you read the psalm, imagine fear as shadows on a wall. The shadows appear large, monstrous even, but they are only cast by a small object held close to the light. The moment the light grows brighter, the shadows vanish. Fear is the same. It looms large in the imagination, but in the light of faith, it has no substance. The psalm is that light. With each verse spoken, the shadows dissolve, the room clears, and you see that abundance has been waiting all along. Fear blinded you, faith opens your eyes. Faith cancels fear not by argument but by presence. Just as a flame cancels darkness without effort, so does faith cancel fear simply by being. That is why it is so important to fill your life with the vibration of faith. To read the psalm aloud, to let its words echo through your room, to let its rhythm settle into your breath, is to invite the presence of faith into every corner of your being. And in that presence, fear cannot dwell. It retreats, it dissolves, it disappears. And in its place, peace arises. And from peace flows wealth. For wealth thrives where faith is strong and fear is absent. Faith does not wait for evidence before believing. It believes and then creates evidence. Fear waits for lack and then multiplies it. Faith steps out on the invisible and finds it solid beneath its feet. Fear clings to the visible and watches it slip away. The psalm, spoken with conviction, trains the soul to walk in faith, to speak abundance even when lack seems present, to declare wealth even when pockets are empty, to proclaim victory even when battles rage. This faith creates the evidence it declares, for the unseen bows to the sound of truth. And so each night you lift your voice in the psalm. You are choosing faith over fear. You are choosing expansion over contraction, abundance over lack, truth over illusion. You are canceling fear, not with force, but with vibration, with the sound of the living word, with the declaration of divine law that knows no lack. And as faith grows stronger, fear grows weaker, until at last it is no more. And only faith remains, guiding you into the wealth that has always been yours. So many spend their lives chasing money as though it were a fugitive running from them, always just out of reach, always around the next corner. They run harder, work longer, and exhaust themselves in pursuit of something that seems to slip away the moment they grasp at it. But money was never meant to be chased. Prosperity was never designed to flee from you. Wealth, by divine law, is not a quarry to be hunted, but a river that flows. When you align yourself with the eternal current of truth, wealth does not run from you. It runs to you. It seeks you out. It finds you. It attaches itself to you. For your vibration becomes irresistible to it. The psalm spoken at night with faith is not just a prayer. It is a magnet. Each word you speak radiates energy, and that energy carries a frequency. Money, being divine energy clothed in form, is drawn to frequencies of faith, gratitude, and expectancy. When you declare the psalm with conviction, you are sending out a signal into the unseen, a beacon of light that wealth recognizes and rushes toward. You no longer need to strain or chase, for the word itself pulls money toward you. You rest in faith, and wealth seeks you out. Think of how bees are drawn to flowers. The flower does not chase after the bee, pleading for attention. It simply blooms. Its fragrance and beauty call the bees to it. So too is the soul that declares the psalm. In the fragrance of faith, in the beauty of truth, wealth comes buzzing, eager to circulate, eager to bless. You need not chase. You need only bloom in alignment with divine law. The psalm is the act of blooming, the opening of your spirit, the release of fragrance into the unseen. And wealth, like the bees, comes in response. Chasing wealth is rooted in fear. It is the belief that you are separate from supply, that you must run after it before it runs away. But divine law teaches that supply is already yours. Wealth is not hiding from you. It is waiting for you to align with it. When you read the psalm, you declare that alignment. You remind your soul that abundance is natural, that prosperity is your birthright, that money has ears and responds to the sound of truth. Suddenly, instead of running after opportunities, you find opportunities running after you. Instead of begging for provision, you find provision seeking you out in unexpected ways. Wealth is not random, it follows law. Just as a compass needle always points north, wealth always points to faith. It gravitates toward those who are in harmony with divine supply. The psalm spoken in faith places you in that harmony. It shifts your inner compass, aligning you with the magnetic pull of prosperity. And once aligned, wealth cannot help but find you. It is drawn as surely as rivers are drawn to the sea, as surely as light is drawn to open space, as surely as sound echoes in the valley. The law cannot be broken. Wealth must respond to the vibration of faith, and it must seek you out. Consider how often blessings arrive uninvited. A gift from a friend, a door opening unexpectedly, a business idea appearing in a dream, an opportunity presenting itself by chance. These are not accidents. They are evidence of wealth seeking you. The psalm does not create these blessings. It clears the way for you to recognize and receive them. It trains your soul to expect. And expectation is the open hand that wealth looks for. A closed hand of fear repels money, but an open hand of faith draws it near. The night is especially powerful for this alignment. In the quiet hours, when the noise of the world has faded, your words echo more deeply into the unseen. As you speak this psalm before sleep, you are planting signals into the spiritual atmosphere. While you rest, those signals call out, summoning wealth, summoning opportunity, summoning provision. Just as a lighthouse calls ships from the sea, your words of faith call wealth from the unseen. And by morning, the tide of prosperity is already moving toward you. You may ask, how can wealth seek me when I have no visible channels? But wealth is not limited to channels you can see. It does not need your job alone, nor your business alone, nor the means you expect. It has infinite ways to reach you. When you align through the psalm, wealth begins to weave its way through channels unknown, arranging meetings, stirring hearts, shifting circumstances, until what once seemed impossible become inevitable. Wealth does not need you to chase it. It needs you to be still, to align, to speak, and to trust. And in that trust, wealth finds you. Imagine standing still in a field with the wind blowing. You do not chase the wind. You open your arms and let it touch you. You do not run after the air. You breathe it in. Wealth, as divine energy, moves the same way. It is already moving, already circulating, already seeking expression. The psalm positions you to receive it. You breathe it in and it fills your life. You do not labor to make the wind blow. You simply open to it. You do not labor to make wealth exist. You simply open to it, and when you open, it comes, for it has been seeking you all along. There are those who seem to attract money without effort, and others who struggle endlessly without result. The difference is not luck but law. Those who attract have aligned themselves consciously or unconsciously with the vibration of abundance. Those who struggle have aligned themselves with fear, doubt, or lack. The psalm shifts that alignment. It is the great recalibration of the soul. Each verse sung, spoken, or whispered is a tuning of your inner instrument to the frequency of prosperity. And once tuned, wealth hears the music and comes dancing to you, for it cannot resist its own vibration. Wealth is not an enemy to be conquered, nor a stranger to be pursued. It is a friend looking for you, a servant eager to fulfill its purpose. It is drawn to the soul that is ready, the heart that is open, the voice that speaks truth. When you read the psalm, you send forth the invitation. You say to wealth, here I am, aligned, receptive, expectant, and wealth, hearing the call, begins to move in your direction. It cannot ignore you, for your words have summoned it. Your faith has magnetized it, and your vibration has welcomed it. The truth is that wealth is already seeking you even before you call, but fear blocks its path. Doubt shuts the door, and unworthiness hides the invitation. The psalm removes these barriers. It opens the door, clears the path, and raises the light that says, I am ready. And when that readiness is present, wealth finds you swiftly, abundantly, unmistakably. It comes as the answer to your declaration, the evidence of your faith, the manifestation of divine law at work in your life. Beloved, tonight you have discovered a secret hidden in plain sight. The power of the spoken word, the truth that money is divine energy, the mystery of the psalm as a key of release, the law that faith cancels fear, and the glorious reality that wealth will not run from you, but will seek you out. The psalm you speak is not just sound. It is a vibration, a command, a signal that reaches into the unseen and draws forth provision from every corner of the universe. When you align with it, money becomes not a struggle but a flow, not a burden but a blessing, not something to chase, but something magnetized to your very presence. This is the divine order. You are not meant to beg for wealth, nor labor in endless toil for what is already yours. You are meant to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. You are meant to speak His word and watch the rivers of supply open wide. You are meant to declare your abundance and rest in the faith that it is so. When you read the psalm tonight, do it with expectancy. Let each word be a seed planted in the garden of the unseen. As you sleep, the angels of provision go to work. The laws of circulation begin to move, and doors swing open in places you never imagined. You do not need to know how it will come. You only need to know that it will. The how belongs to the infinite, but the yes belongs to you. So rest tonight in faith. Speak the psalm with conviction. Release your fears into the silence and trust that money, opportunity, and divine wealth are already on their way to you. Drawn by the power of your word, drawn by the law of faith, drawn by the magnetic pull of your expectancy, wealth will find you. Abundance will overflow. Prosperity will become your natural state. For the word never returns void. And the psalm you speak tonight is the very key that opens the gates of divine.